Hi, Dr. Elford. This is my reflection from my collaborative conversation with Julianne Baker, who is an EA at my school. She is especially trained to work with students who are on the autism spectrum, and she herself has a daughter who has autism. So, a lot of her passion and interest in the field comes from her own personal experiences, and her skills are definitely seen not only in my conversation with her, but just seeing her interact with the students whom she works with. The one who I know best is Gabe, and that's who we spent the majority of our conversation talking about. So the conversation went really well as planned. I was able to get all of my questions answered and really come away with a sense of what to do next with my student Olivia. I felt like Julianne and I were really on sync. She did such a wonderful job answering my questions and talking specifically about the behavioral strategies she uses in ways where I could really easily understand and visualize how she uses them with Gabe in the classroom. And in turn, visualize how I could use them with Olivia in the resource and general education setting. I was a little worried planning for the conversation, maybe about differences in how we defined some of the strategies we used, but I found that we used almost all of the same terms. The only one that I had learned a different way was using reinforcement, which she called rewards based, when she talked about the strategy that she uses with Gabe. Um, I felt like she came extremely prepared. I had given her, the questions that I wanted to ask her, and she was so willing and open to share about her daughter and her experiences leading to her current position. And I was really thankful that she was willing to do that. Another thing that went really well was hosting the conversation in a space that was more neutral for both of us. It was a speech pathologist classroom, and she opened it to us. The only thing was there's a restroom within that office area, so there were some people coming in and out, and that's where in the video you'll see me looking away, trying to reassure people that they weren't interrupting our video. So the partnership collaboration strategies that I was really trying to be aware of was actively listening to everything Julianne said. And I asked her if it would be okay if I wrote things down. And of course, she was fine with that. So I really wanted to make sure I wrote down the strategies so that I could refer to them by name later on in additional questions that I had. I felt like the questions that I planned to use were open and allowed for really in depth conversation. And I was able to give some feedback and experiences not only from my classroom but from a recent training that all of the teachers and EAs at my school attended. So we were able to use that experience together to kind of gain common insight into new strategies that we were talking about, as well as the experiences that we've had and labeling those things that we've done before. I felt like I did a really good job up front stating the objective for our conversation, not only in asking Julianne about if she would be open to having a conversation with me, but I was happily surprised that I had opened our conversation with the objective, what I wanted to get out of it, and what I felt like we could both gain from it, especially considering the needs of our students, how we could really help them through our conversation. And that brought me to the article that we read by Jewett and McPhee that stated that the ultimate goal of collaborative conversation is improving student learning. And this perspective relies on a constructivist approach where growth and change are the goals. And I felt like Julianne and I were really on the same page in that goal, by stating our intentions from the beginning and really being consistent about and intentional about staying on those topics and not fraying from the the objective for the lesson, which was helping our students and improving their instructional outcomes through behavioral strategies. I would describe the experience relating to third space dialogue as one where we kind of approached third space, but I'm not quite sure if we came to a whole new understanding or strategy. I felt like she really gave me a lot of information about strategies to use with my student who has autism and effective strategies that have worked for her before working with students with autism. But I'm not quite sure if we developed a new strategy or came to a whole new realization. I think I definitely gained a lot from her insight and her answers to the questions. I think maybe when we were discussing the high probability requests, maybe that was part of reaching third space dialogue because we had both had experiences with that and we were talking about how we could use that. We couldn't put our finger on the name of it, but we knew that increasing students' likelihood of completing a non-preferred task can be accomplished by first giving them more preferred tasks to lead them into that. Also, I think Julianne really helped me to understand specific strategies that I could use with Olivia, and she helped me to develop that knowledge of ways to differentiate the strategies she's used with Gabe with Olivia, because Olivia is of course, a little bit different than Gabe. She is more verbal and can verbalize her needs and her preferences a little bit easier than he can. So Julianne helped me come to a strategy where I would apply Olivia's strengths in verbalizing her wishes to help her earn reinforcement after completing a task. And I also came to realize that applying a first then strategy with Olivia could be really effective and is something that I intend to implement with her. As stated in Teaching in the Third Space, the theory-practice divide between teachers can be characterized by uncertainty. But as well as we have pedagogical differences, these can be bridged by entering the third space, a space where we intersect and transform academic knowledge and practitioner experiences and create new learning experiences for all involved. So I think that we did reach some new ideas, but maybe we just didn't create them on our own. And maybe that's a good thing. We want our practices to be evidence-based. So we're applying our experiences with evidence-based strategies to reach that new idea to use with a specific student. So I felt that the partnership communication components that were best were active listening, open questions, and feedback from both sides. So I really was able to gain a lot by not only listening to what Julianne was saying, but also, building upon those things that she was saying to gain deeper understanding. And that really came from the active listening that I used. I learned that I validate what people say by using the yeah, I say yeah a lot. So that's something that I can keep an eye on or an ear on in my next collaboration with someone. Just that maybe using some different terms when I'm, demonstrating to them that I am being attentive and listening. And also I learned that I kind of have random thoughts pop into my head as far as thinking about the conversation in general, so maybe applying it to experiences. So I thought something that I could use in the future to increase my communication goals would be maybe to bring like an outline or a graphic organizer where I could write in the things that I want to maybe dive deeper into, so that it's maybe my conversations maybe a little more organized and less popcorn, going all around. With that being said, I felt like Julianne and I did a really great job of sticking to the objective for our conversation. And also, I'd like to see myself apply more summarizing techniques to future conversations rather than, like I said, just nodding and saying, yeah, but using more summarizing to validate what the person is saying and to make sure that I am truly understanding, what they're communicating. Um, Also, something that I might do differently next time is maybe bring a computer so that I could look up that strategy that I couldn't pinpoint the name of, and come away with even more information about that, giving us both the vocabulary to name that strategy, which I later found out was high probability requests. So maybe incorporating computer, but setting some boundaries so that it doesn't interfere with the conversation too much. But with that being said, I really enjoyed this experience and I gained so much insight from Julian. I have so much respect for her and what she does with our students at this school, and I'm really thankful to have her input and her experiences to help me become a better teacher and to use more evidence based experiences in behavioral interventions with my students. So, thank you so much.